My fiancé texted, "I'm staying at my sister's. I need space to think about our wedding." I responded, "I understand." Then I logged into our shared Amazon account and saw her recent order, lingerie and a bottle of wine, shipped to her ex's address. When I canceled the order and replaced it with a relationship self-help book. Let me start by saying that I never thought I'd be one of those guys posting about relationship drama on Reddit. I always figured I was too boring, too stable, too normal for this kind of soap opera nonsense. But here I am, freshly single at 34, drinking bourbon at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday in May 2023, and laughing my ass off every time I get a notification from Amazon customer service. So, backstory time. I'm Anthony. I work in software development, enjoy hiking, and until recently was engaged to be married to Jessica, 32, this coming October. We'd been together for 4 years, lived together in my apartment for 3, my name on the lease though she paid half the rent, and got engaged last Christmas. The wedding planning was in full swing. Venue booked, invitations sent, cake tasting completed, red velvet if you're curious. Everything seemed fine. Not perfect, but what relationship is? We had the occasional argument about typical stuff. She thought I worked too much. I thought she spent too much money on clothes. She wanted kids right away. I wanted to travel first. But nothing that felt relationship ending. About 3 weeks ago, Jessica started acting weird. Suddenly she was going out with the girls multiple nights a week, taking phone calls in the bathroom with the shower running, and being excessively affectionate with me. The kind of syrupy sweetness that always feels like overcompensation for guilt. I'm not an idiot, but I'm also not naturally suspicious. I figured maybe she was stressed about the wedding, or work, or both. So I asked her if everything was okay, and she gave me the dreaded, "Everything's fine." You know, the one with the tight smile and dead eyes that means everything is very much not fine. But she's already decided it's your fault and is just waiting for you to figure it out. Last Friday, I got home from work to find a note on the kitchen counter. "Staying at Melissa's for a few days. Need some space to think about things. We'll call you." Melissa is her sister, who lives about 30 minutes away. I texted Jessica to make sure she was okay and got back, "I'm fine, just need to think about us and the wedding. Don't call, I'll reach out when I'm ready." Now, I respect boundaries. If she needs space, fine, but something about the whole situation didn't add up. Jessica and Melissa aren't exactly close. They usually see each other at family events, and that's about it. And what was there to think about with the wedding? We'd already paid non-refundable deposits for pretty much everything. I spent the evening in a state of confused anxiety, alternating between respecting her space and wondering if I should drive over to Melissa's to talk in person. But then, while mindlessly scrolling through emails on my phone, I got an Amazon order confirmation. This wasn't unusual. Jessica and I share an Amazon Prime account. It's registered in my name with my credit card, but she has her own login, and we both order stuff all the time. We get emails for all orders since we set it up that way to track household purchases. But this order was interesting. A bottle of Veuve Clicquot champagne, a set of black lace lingerie, not her usual style, and a scented candle, all gift-wrapped with a message that just said, "Can't wait, Soxo." And here's where things got really interesting. The shipping address wasn't our apartment. It wasn't Melissa's place either. It was an address I didn't recognize in a part of town I rarely visit. So I did what any normal person would do in 2023. I Googled the address. It was an apartment complex. Nothing remarkable there. But then I remembered something. About a month ago, Jessica had shown me an Instagram post of her college friend's housewarming party. I recognized the apartment complex in the background of one of the photos. And guess who was also in that photo? Ryan, Jessica's ex-boyfriend from college, who she'd always described as the one that got away, before quickly adding, "But it worked out for the best because I found you." Ryan, who had conveniently moved back to our city 6 months ago. Ryan, who Jessica had reconnected with, just as friends, at a college reunion thing back in February. I found the post again, and there it was. Ryan tagged at the same complex where this order was headed. A quick check of the address format confirmed my suspicions. This wasn't just any random address. This was almost certainly Ryan's apartment. Suddenly, the late nights, bathroom calls, and need for space made perfect, horrible sense. My first instinct was to call her and confront her. But what would that achieve? She'd deny it, say I was invading her privacy, turn it around on me somehow. My second instinct was to drive to Ryan's apartment and wait for her to show up. But again, what's the endgame there? A screaming match in a parking lot? No thanks. Instead, I did something much more satisfying. I logged into our shared Amazon account, canceled her order, which was easy since it was placed under our shared account, but with her login, and then placed a new separate order to the exact same address. But instead of champagne and lingerie, I sent 1. A book titled How to Not Be a Cheating Dirtbag, a relationship self-help guide, which I found on Amazon. It's an actual book about recognizing toxic relationship patterns. 2. A value pack of adult diapers. 3. A jumbo tube of hemorrhoid cream, all gift-wrapped with a note that said, "Hope this space helps you think clearly. Sokso, your ex-fiancé." And yes, I used my own credit card for this order, not our shared payment method. I'm petty, but I'm not financially irresponsible. Then I poured myself a whiskey, called my best friend Brian, and told him everything. His reaction was to show up at my place 30 minutes later with pizza and beer, declaring, "Fuck Jessica, we're having a breakup party." While we were in the middle of demolishing a pepperoni pizza and my liquor cabinet, my phone started blowing up. Jessica was calling, repeatedly. I ignored it and put my phone on silent. Then Brian's phone rang. It was Jessica. He answered and put it on speaker. "Where is Anthony? He needs to answer his damn phone right now." Brian, bless his heart, replied in the calmest voice possible. "Hey Jessica, Anthony is busy respecting your need for space. Can I take a message?" "You know damn well what the message is." "Put him on the phone." Brian looked at me. I shook my head. "Sorry, he's not available, but I'm sure whatever it is can wait until you've had enough space to think about things." She hung up. Seconds later, my phone lit up with text messages. "What the fuck is wrong with you? This isn't funny. You had no right to do that. Answer your phone." Then, the coup de grace. "It's not what it looks like." I finally responded with, "You're right. The hemorrhoid cream was excessive, but I figured since you're already being a pain in the ass, you might need it." Her response was instantaneous. "I'm coming over. We need to talk." I texted back, "I'm respecting your need for space. Take all the time you need. About 50 to 60 years should do it." Brian and I were howling with laughter, probably a bit drunk by this point, when there was banging on my door. Jessica had apparently decided that her space was over and it was time for a confrontation. I opened the door to find her standing there, face flushed, looking simultaneously furious and caught. "How dare you?" she started, pushing past me into the apartment. She stopped when she saw Brian lounging on the couch with a beer. "I need to talk to Anthony alone." Brian shrugged. "It's his apartment. I'll step out if he wants me to." I shook my head. "Brian stays. Anything you need to say can be said in front of him." Jessica looked like she might explode. "You humiliated me. You invaded my privacy. You had no right to access my Amazon account and mess with my orders." I laughed, genuinely amused by the absurdity of her indignation. "Our Amazon account, the one we share, the one that's primary on my credit card. And I think we both know I'm not the one who should be feeling humiliated right now." "It wasn't. That order wasn't. I was just..." She sputtered. "Getting champagne and lingerie delivered to Ryan's apartment while telling me you needed space to think about the wedding?" I finished for her. "Yeah, I figured that one out all by myself. I'm just wondering how long it's been going on." She switched tactics instantly, her face crumpling into well-practiced tears. "It's not like that. I was confused. Ryan reached out, and it brought up old feelings, but nothing happened. I ordered those things because I was thinking about it, but I was never going to go through with it. I just needed to work through these emotions before the wedding." "So you decided to work through your emotions by buying lingerie and alcohol to be delivered to another man's apartment while telling your fiancé you needed space? That's an interesting therapeutic approach. You're twisting everything. I love you. I want to marry you. This was just a moment of weakness." Brian, who had been silent, suddenly chimed in. "A moment of weakness that involved creating an entire Amazon cart, selecting gift wrap, writing a note, and entering shipping information? That's like at least 15 minutes of continuous weakness." Jessica glared at him. "This is between me and Anthony." Actually, I said, this was between you and me. Past tense. We're done, Jessica. The wedding's off. You can't be serious, she gasped. You're going to throw away 4 years over one mistake I didn't even make yet? The mistake wasn't almost cheating, I said. The mistake was thinking I wouldn't find out, or that I'd be dumb enough to believe whatever story you concocted. But the real deal breaker? You're not even sorry. You're just sorry you got caught. She switched tactics again, going from tears to ice cold in an instant. Fine, but you'll regret this. And good luck explaining to everyone why the wedding is canceled. Oh, I'm pretty sure my fiancée ordered lingerie and champagne to be delivered to her ex-boyfriend's apartment will be explanation enough. Her eyes widened. You wouldn't dare tell people that. I won't have to. That Amazon order is all the proof I need, and I've already screenshot everything. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard a framed photo fell off the wall and shattered. It was, ironically, a picture of us from our engagement party. Well, said Brian after a moment of silence, that went about as well as could be expected. I collapsed onto the couch, emotional exhaustion hitting me all at once. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe she tried the "it's not what it looks like" line. What else could lingerie and champagne shipped to her ex's apartment possibly be? That made me laugh despite everything. Maybe it was for a book club? A very sexy, drunk book club? We spent the rest of the night alternating between making jokes about Jessica's flimsy excuses and having serious conversations about relationships and betrayal. Brian crashed on my couch, and I went to bed feeling strangely liberated, if a bit shell-shocked. The next morning, I woke up to a hurricane of notifications. Jessica had apparently spent the night telling her version of events to anyone who would listen. That I was controlling, that I hacked her Amazon account, that I embarrassed her in front of her friend, not ex, just friend. That I threw her out of our apartment. It's my name on the lease, remember? Some people were buying it, sending me concerned messages asking if I was okay, if I needed to talk to someone about my issues. But others weren't so easily fooled, particularly those who knew about Ryan from the college days and had seen how Jessica perked up when he moved back to town. The most surprising message came from Melissa, Jessica's sister. I'd met her dozens of times at family events over the years, and we were friendly though not close. She texted me saying, "Jessica's not staying with me. Hasn't been here once, sorry." I forwarded that to Jessica with just a, as my comment. No response. But the real highlight of my day came around noon, when I got an email notification from Amazon. Someone had marked my revenge package as returning to sender, though it had already been delivered according to tracking. The return reason given was unwanted item. Amazon wanted to know if I wanted a refund or replacement. I screenshotted that and sent it to Jessica with the caption, "Looks like Ryan doesn't want your space gifts either." Again, no response. By evening, our social circle was in full meltdown mode. People were taking sides, sharing information, comparing notes on when Jessica and Ryan had been spotted together. It was like a real-time soap opera unfolding in my text messages. Then came the twist I hadn't anticipated. Around 7 p.m., my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Ryan standing there, looking extremely uncomfortable. "Can we talk?" he asked. Against my better judgment, I let him in. He declined my sarcastic offer of champagne and got straight to the point. "I'm guessing you're Anthony? I found your address on that Amazon package." He paused, clearly uncomfortable. "Look, I just came to drop this off and clear some things up." He handed me the package I had sent. It had been opened, with the book, diapers, and hemorrhoid cream visible inside. "I didn't know you and Jessica were still together," he continued. "She told me you'd broken up months ago, but were keeping it quiet until after her cousin's wedding. She said you were still living together to save money, but it was over." I stared at him, absorbing this new level of betrayal. We were engaged. The wedding is in October, or was, I guess. He ran his hands through his hair, looking genuinely distressed. Shit. I swear I didn't know. We reconnected at the reunion, and she was all over me, saying how she'd made a mistake letting me go. But she was wearing an engagement ring, so I kept my distance. Then a few months ago, she called saying you guys had split and she was just wearing the ring to avoid questions. "And you believed her?" He shrugged. "Why wouldn't I? I haven't seen her in years. I don't know your relationship, and honestly, Jessica was always really convincing when she wanted something. I couldn't argue with that. Jessica had a talent for reshaping reality to fit her desires. So how long have you been seeing her? I asked, not sure I wanted the answer. We're not seeing each other like that. We've grabbed dinner a few times, texted, she came over last weekend, but nothing happened. She said she wasn't ready. I thought she meant because of your breakup. Last weekend. When she told me she was at a work retreat, the hits just kept coming. And the lingerie and champagne? That was a surprise to me too. I mean, we'd been flirty, but I didn't think we were at the sending lingerie stage. When I got that bizarre package with the self-help book instead, I was confused as hell. Then Jessica called, hysterical, claiming you were stalking her, hacked her accounts, and were harassing her friends. It seemed excessive. So I did some digging, found mutual friends on social media, and quickly realized her story wasn't adding up. I offered him a beer, which he accepted after some hesitation. There's a strange camaraderie that forms when you realize you've both been played by the same person. So what now? He asked. Now? Now I cancel a wedding, move on with my life, and hope Jessica gets the help she clearly needs. He nodded, looking relieved that I wasn't blaming him. For what it's worth, I'm really sorry, and I'm staying far away from her from now on. After Ryan left, I sat in my quiet apartment, processing everything. The relationship I thought I had, the future I had planned, none of it was real. Or at least it wasn't what I thought it was. It was jarring, disorienting, like the floor had disappeared beneath my feet. But alongside the pain and betrayal, I felt something unexpected. Gratitude. Gratitude for Amazon's easy-to-access order history. Gratitude for Melissa's honesty. Even gratitude for Ryan's unexpected integrity. Because without all of that, I might have married a woman who could lie so effortlessly, who could create entirely fictional narratives and expect everyone to play along. The next few weeks were a blur of cancellations, explanations, and returning wedding gifts. Jessica made a few more attempts at reconciliation, each with a different approach. Tears, anger, seduction, guilt, but each as transparent as the last. When none of that worked, she went with the nuclear option. Telling people I was abusive and she had escaped a dangerous relationship. Fortunately, most people who actually knew me found this laughable. And those who believed her? Well, they weren't people I needed in my life anyway. The most satisfying moment came about a month after the breakup. I finally got around to reading that How to Not Be a Cheating Dirtbag book that Ryan had returned, and it was surprisingly insightful. The book, which was a legitimate self-help guide about relationship ethics, had chapters on communication, boundaries, and honesty that felt eerily applicable to my situation. I started underlining passages and making notes in the margins. Not angry rants or bitter reflections, but honest insights about relationships, trust, and self-worth that I was learning through this whole ordeal. It became a kind of therapy, turning something I'd ordered as revenge into something meaningful. Jessica, meanwhile, had moved on to her next drama. According to mutual friends, she and Ryan had a brief, explosive fling that ended when she accused him of still being in love with his ex. The irony apparently lost on her. Last I heard, she was dating some guy from her gym and telling people she dodged a bullet. With me. And you know what? Maybe she did. Because the Anthony who was engaged to Jessica, the one who ignored red flags and accepted paper-thin excuses, that guy doesn't exist anymore. In his place is someone more skeptical, more assertive, and paradoxically, more open to real connection. 6 months later, November 2023, I'm doing surprisingly well. The wedding date came and went in October, and instead of getting married, I went hiking in Colorado with Brian and some other friends. I'm seeing someone new. It's casual, we're taking it slow, but she's refreshingly straightforward. No bathroom phone calls, no elaborate lies, no space that isn't actually space. As for the book, it's sitting on my bookshelf, filled with my thoughts and experiences. Sometimes I think about sending it to Jessica. But what would be the point? She's still living in her own version of reality, where she's always the hero of the story, never the villain. Besides, I've got better things to do with my Amazon account these days. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the support and the awards. Since so many people are asking for updates or have questions, here are some answers. 1. Yes, we managed to get some refunds on wedding deposits, but lost about $5 total, still cheaper than a divorce. 2. Jessica's family was surprisingly understanding. Her mom actually called me to apologize, saying, "She's always been like this, even as a child. We love her, but we're not blind." That conversation was both heartbreaking and validating. 3. For those asking about the Amazon account situation, it was my Prime account that I shared with her. She had her own login under my account. You can have multiple household members on one Prime subscription. I've since removed her access and changed all passwords. The credit card on the account was mine, though she would sometimes use her own card for her purchases. 4. The new woman I'm seeing does know this story, a condensed version, and her reaction was perfect. "That's wild. I hope you've changed your Amazon password." I have. I've changed all my passwords. 5. Ryan and I are not friends, but we're civil. We've run into each other twice since everything went down. Once was awkward. The second time we actually had a beer and shared Jessica stories. Turns out she pulled similar stunts in college. 6. To the people suggesting I actually publish my thoughts from the How to Not Be a Cheating Dirtbag book, I've thought about it. Maybe someday. Right now it's just my personal journal of this bizarre chapter of my life. 7. And yes, I did eventually tell Jessica that Ryan came to see me and confirmed they weren't really together. Her response? "He's lying to save face. We've been together for months." Some people just can't stop digging when they're in a hole. Update 1 year later, May 2024. It's been exactly a year since the Amazon incident, and a few people have messaged asking for an update, so here goes. Life has a funny way of working out. Remember that casual relationship I mentioned? Not so casual anymore. Emma and I have been officially together for about 8 months now, and she moved in last month. She's everything Jessica wasn't: honest, direct, and secure enough in herself that she doesn't need constant validation or drama. She also has her own Amazon account, which is honestly a bigger turn-on than I ever expected. The most surreal development? Those notes I was making in the How to Not Be a Cheating Dirtbag book have actually turned into something. A publisher friend of Brian's saw my annotated version and thought the concept had potential. We've expanded it into a companion guide about recognizing relationship red flags and maintaining boundaries, with a humorous twist. It's being published next spring as a supplementary workbook to the original text, with permission from the original author, of course. I've been very careful to change all names and identifying details, but the core Amazon story remains, because it's just too good to leave out. As for Jessica, she's been on quite a journey. After cycling through a few more relationships, each ending with dramatic social media posts about how she deserves better, she actually reached out to me about 3 months ago with what seemed like a genuine apology. She said she'd started therapy and was beginning to recognize her patterns of behavior. I appreciated the gesture but kept my response brief and cordial. Boundaries, you know? 2 weeks later, she texted again asking if I'd put in a good word with Ryan, because she'd really like to clear the air with him too. And just like that, any hope that she'd truly changed evaporated. Some people just can't help themselves. The wedding that never was would have been last October. Instead of exchanging vows with someone who couldn't even be honest about where she was staying, I spent that weekend at a cabin with Emma, completely off-grid, watching leaves fall and drinking whiskey by a fireplace. No drama, no secrets, no Amazon deliveries addressed to mysterious third parties. If there's a lesson in all this, besides the obvious check your shared Amazon account, it's that sometimes the worst moments of your life become doorways to something better. That package of lingerie and champagne that wasn't delivered? Best non-delivery of my life. Oh, and one last thing. Ryan is actually dating Melissa now, Jessica's sister. They met at a mutual friend's party where they bonded over their shared Jessica stories. When Jessica found out, she sent me a barrage of texts accusing me of orchestrating the whole thing as revenge. I wish I were that strategic. The reality was much simpler. 2 decent people found each other after realizing they'd both been manipulated by the same person. Karma doesn't always arrive in the ways you expect. Sometimes it comes in an Amazon package, and sometimes it comes in the form of your ex's sister dating the guy your ex cheated with. Life is weird, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Update, 2 years later, May 2025. Didn't expect to be updating this again, but life continues to surprise me in the best ways. First, the big news. Emma and I got engaged last month. I proposed during a hiking trip to the same Colorado trails I escaped to when I was supposed to be getting married to Jessica. Full circle moment. We're planning a small wedding next spring. Nothing extravagant, just close friends and family. And yes, we have completely separate Amazon accounts. The companion workbook to How Not to Be a Cheating Dirtbag was published 3 months ago and has done surprisingly well. It's never going to be a bestseller, but it's found its audience, mostly through word of mouth and a few podcast appearances. The most surreal part? Getting an email from Jessica's most recent ex, post-Ryan, pre-current guy, who stumbled across it and recognized the stories. Changed my life, man. Seriously. Speaking of Jessica, she's engaged now too, to a guy she's known for approximately 8 months. He seems nice enough from what mutual friends say. Successful, a bit older, completely unaware of her history. I wish them well and sincerely hope she's grown. Some people do change, after all. Ryan and Melissa are still together and expecting their first child in December. They've become good friends with Emma and me, which is a plot twist I never saw coming. We do game nights monthly and there's never any drama, just good food and terrible jokes. It's refreshing. The Amazon order that started it all has become something of a legend among our friends. For my birthday last year, Brian got me a custom doormat that says, "All deliveries must be approved by both residents." Emma nearly fell over laughing when she saw it. Sometimes I think about how different my life would be if Jessica had been a bit more careful with that order, or if I'd never seen it. Would I have gone through with the wedding, only to discover the truth later? Would I be navigating a messy divorce instead of planning a wedding with someone I genuinely trust? Timing is everything, and sometimes a notification on your phone can change the entire trajectory of your life. If you're reading this and in the middle of your own relationship catastrophe, hang in there. The cliches about time healing all wounds and everything happening for a reason are annoying precisely because they're true. That doesn't make the present pain any easier, but it does give you something to look forward to. And maybe double-check your shared accounts. You never know what you might find.